Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi guys, welcome to episode 487 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm happy to be with you as always. Thank you so much for being here and listening and sharing and just making the world a better place by being the best version of you. Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about food in America lately, our food in America basically, and why there's so much disease and inflammation and obesity, and what does our food have to do with it? Now, it's a question I don't have to wonder if you care about or not. I know you do, because either you or someone you know is affected by it. And if nothing else, trying to be the best version of you has never been harder, but also has never been more attainable because of all the tools that we have. Now, the thing I know for sure is that no one can do it for you, and staying confused about what to eat and what not to eat, that's not an option anymore if you want to be healthy. There's a lot of reasons why America's in a health crisis right now, but we don't have to figure it out for everyone. Now, before you think that that sounds selfish, hear me out. We're very influenced by the people that we spend time with or that we listen to. So you're influenced, but you also influence. So you get super healthy, and the people who are looking will seek you out to find what you're doing. You surround yourself with healthy people, and their habits are going to rub off. And in return, your habits will rub off on other people. So you just doing your thing, the people who are searching will be inspired by you. And the people you're searching for will show up. This is what I think Gandhi meant when he said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." My friend Lena, who is one of the most fit friends that I have, actually she's the most fit and healthy friend, now that I'm thinking about it, that I have. She and I were talking about our health and being fit, and we were in the gym one day, and she said so many times a lot of people ask her about her workouts and how often she goes to the gym because she looks amazing, and so people want to know her secret. And she does spend a lot of time in the gym, but what she knows, and I have come to realize in the last few years, is no matter how much time you spend running or lifting weights or doing yoga, if your diet isn't 85 to 90% clean, you're going to struggle with your weight. Now, we were talking in the sauna one day, and she said a lot of people think she looks the way she does because she spends so much time in the gym. And she said, you know what? This body was made in the kitchen. And I have never forgotten that she said that. And I know it's true, but I also wish it wasn't true. Now, having said that, like I've been talking about in the last few episodes, that is just a thought that I have to wrangle to the ground. I wish that I didn't have to eat healthy all the time in order to be healthy and fit. That's just a thought that I am wrangling to the ground, because I live in the real world just like everyone else does. And right now, food has never been more abundant and tasty and available than it is right now. And if you watch TV, you get the advertisements that are meant to move you to eat more and more and more. And the food in the stores are so addictive by design, and along with being addictive, the majority of the food Americans eat hold no nutritious value. So that your body's still hungry because it doesn't know what to do with fake food, which is a lot of what the grocery store is anymore. I was watching a video with Max Lugavere. He has a great podcast on health called The Genius Life. But he says if your local grocery store has a health food section, then what is everything else in the store? It's such a good question, and one that isn't going to be fixed fast enough by RFK Jr. or anyone else in the government to turn your personal situation around. It's just not going to be fixed fast enough for that. Even though I think it will eventually be fixed, we have to take personal responsibility for our health, because the food companies are paying a lot of money to lobbyists who buy the votes of politicians. So a lot of the so-called food in the grocery stores, it's not even really food. It's just made to look like food, because food by definition actually has to be nutritious. So if you aren't reading labels, you're probably eating a lot of chemicals in diet that are causing inflammation and weight gain, even though you're just thinking you're eating a yogurt with fruit or giving your kids fun, colorful cereal that they saw an ad on for TV and have begged you, and now you've craved and gotten it. But it has food dye, known to cause a lot of problems. See, we think it's safe because it's on our grocery shelf, but it's just not going to kill you immediately. Eventually, it's going to make you sick and bloated and inflamed, and the answer that the doctor is going to give you is medication, which will cause other problems now too. Now, if this all seems overwhelming, it should be, because we have to get serious about our nutrition. When our Eric and I have a functional nutritionist. And when he took us on as a client, we had to take a label reading course. It was required, which I thought was silly until you realize that the hidden ingredients that are in all of these foods, I mean, big food doesn't want you to know about that. They don't want you to read those labels for real. But the only really safe thing to do if you don't grow your own food is to eat whole foods only and read labels like your life depends on it, because it does. So yeah, exercise is great, mandatory even if you ask me, but the health of your body, your temple, starts and ends in the kitchen. Your kitchen, my kitchen, not the fast food kitchen or a favorite restaurant kitchen, our kitchen. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow too, because for the longest time I prided myself on not liking to cook. And now we eat almost every meal at home, with me cooking dinner at home and actually enjoying it, believe it or not. We recently were in the mountains with my parents and my mom was talking about her garden. And I said, I really believe that that's why all of us kids are healthy to this day, is because we were raised off the garden for the most part. And then I said, I wish I liked gardening because it's really the healthiest way to eat. And my mom said, well, you used to tell yourself you didn't like cooking either, so maybe you can change the way you think about gardening. I laughed and said, good point. So our thoughts also control what we eat. There are a lot of things that have gone into the decision for me and Eric, my husband, to change our eating habits so drastically. But one of the biggest for me also came from my friend Lena when she said, I don't like to eat out because I want to know every ingredient that's in my food, and you can't know that in a restaurant. Now, my brain chewed on that thought for a long time. I entertained that thought. But, before I did anything drastic, I thought a lot about it. Because everything was gradually pointing towards the idea that in order for us to be truly healthy, we had to make changes, and those changes had to come from our very own kitchen. So that was a useful thought to entertain. You see how thoughts are like little seeds? When you allow the ones that are useful to marinate and grow, you eventually take action on those thoughts, and your life is going to reflect that. Same thing goes for thoughts that aren't useful. They marinate too, and you take action on those too, and then your life reflects that. So when you have the thought that healthy whole foods taste bad, you're eventually not going to eat them. Or when you think you'll never be able to cut back on alcohol or stop eating refined sugar, and you keep thinking that thought, you keep hanging out with people who mirror that thought, the actions you take are going to reflect that thought, and your body's going to reflect it too. So change starts in your head. Every single change you make begins with a thought seed that you either water or you don't. So your health is dictated by your mind too. Who knew? And the little gem that is hidden in here in this episode is that your peer group really matters. Because two really influential thoughts for me came from my friend Lena, who has a whole lot of discipline when it comes to food. See, change is possible. I didn't dislike cooking. It was just a lot easier, and I thought more fun to eat out. But now we have dinner parties at our house almost every weekend. So fun. And I cook and I enjoy it. You see, change is possible. And yes, we've been lied to and misled about what's healthy and what's not. And that isn't cool. And there's a lot of blame to go around for why obesity is such a problem, and why when we think we're eating healthy, we still get fat and inflamed. Sorry for the harsh language, but I love you. And even though it's not your fault that food is so toxic, no one can read labels for you. No one can lock you in the house for 2 months and only feed you whole foods without getting arrested anyway. You have to do that for yourself. Show yourself what's possible. My challenge to you this week is to learn about reading food labels. There's tons of resources online. I suggest the Food Babe site for informative sites on label reading. And also increase your whole food intake, maybe by adding a green smoothie to your day that has organic pea protein, frozen zucchini, microgreens, a handful of green lettuces like spinach and other greens, and almond milk. Yeah, you'll find, as I did, that your appetites curb because your body is getting the nutrition it needs. So it'll curb your cravings and you eat less. Now, if your first thought is that sounds horrible, that is just another good example of an unuseful thought you want to wrangle to the ground. Share this with 3 people who inspire you. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.